quorum. We do have a quorum. Let me know when you're ready for the roll.
Okay, let me see, I have, sorry, I'm pulling up the agenda. You can go, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order and Ms.
Join the meeting.
Call the roll.
Okay.
I'm pulling up the agenda.
Mr. Brennan.
Present.
Mr. Burgess.
Present.
Ms. Gleaton.
Present.
Ms. Herbert. Representative Powers.
Present.
Mr. Lawson.
Here.
Ms. Mood.
Here.
Dr. Morris. I'll come back. Somebody's connecting. It might be. Yeah. Mr. Smith.
Here.
Ms. Tracio.
Here.
Councilman Walker.
Here.
I will call the advisory board members. Mr. Kane. Mr. Green.
I'm here.
Mr. Jenkins. Mr. Coon. Ms. Robinson. Ms. Summers. Mr. Unthank.
Here.
Mayor Walker.
Motion call, Madam Chair. Okay, thank you so much. That'll bring us to item 2, the adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, changes to the agenda? Okay, is there a motion regarding the agenda?
So move.
Thank you.
A second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. We'll call the roll to adopt the agenda.
Okay, Mr. Burgess.
Yes.
Mr. Burgess.
Yes.
Ms. Gleason.
Yes.
Mr. Herbert. Representative Power.
Yes.
Mr. Lawson.
Yes.
Mood.
Yes.
Dr. Morris.
Yes, hello.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Tracio.
Yes.
Councilman Walker.
Yes.
Carried.
Thank you. That'll bring us to item 3, our Midlands Transit Riders Association update. I see Mr. Durst is on the Zoom.
Thanks. Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry I can't be with you all today, but it's a little scheduling issue. First of all, I want to reiterate something I said at the service meeting a couple of weeks ago about how great the spots are on WLTX on Thursdays, airing at 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. Just a little commercial for you guys. I think the airport's coming up pretty soon, and it'll be really good for the folks out there to understand that the bus does in fact go to the airport. Also, one other thing, this came up from a member of our group regarding the Gamecock Express. We all know the routes that the Gamecock Express takes. And this member of ours was suggesting that perhaps one of the buses could go down Rosewood from the Publix shopping center where folks could park, and then get on the bus and go to the game down Rosewood as opposed to Assembly or Olympia or those other ways of getting there. So anyway, that's what I've got, and I thank y'all very much and hope everybody has a really great day.
Thanks, you too. That'll bring us to item 4, the call to the public. Has anyone signed up to address the board?
We don't have anyone that has signed up, but I would like to ask someone calling in on area code 402-650-0203. Can you please let us know who you are? You're on mute, so we can't hear you.
Okay.
Oh, speak. Just can't. Yeah, they might have played.
Okay. Hi, welcome.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joyce Mason. The reason I'm here is basically to ask that, I'm calling in reference to DART. And the way the scheduling is made for DART, you have to call every day in order to get a reservation. Recently, I signed up for voc rehab on Boston Street. And it's a real complex process to call every single day in order to make a schedule that's going to last for me 4 weeks, 4 business days, 4 weeks, well, several days. And it's very inconvenient. It's stressful for me, it was stressful for the reservationist as well too. And I don't understand why it's being done this way, because you have individuals who are going to a job every single day to a certain extent. I really would like to request that you change this format and take in consideration what you would have to go through if you had to call in every single day in order to make a schedule for the following week. It's very inconvenient and it doesn't make sense. And if someone could explain to me why it's being done, I'd appreciate it. But I, for one, do not understand it. And others don't either.
May I ask you, do you receive the DART at the same time each time? Or is it different time?
It's a different time,
Each day?
every day. Just about every day was different. Every time. And
No.
I'm sorry.
I mean, the time the DART picks you up, are you making a request for the same time every day?
I have to be, let me say it like this. I have to be there by 9 a.m. Okay, so I've made a reservation for 7:30 a.m. to be so, and also 7:45, 7:50. It depends on what the scheduler has available, and I go with that to a certain extent. My concern is the fact that we have to call, if we want to get to our destination on a Monday, I have to call on the Monday before the following Monday, the next Monday, I should say, and request that schedule. So we have to call DART every single day.
Madam Chair, may I suggest that we, the service committee, take the problem that Ms. Mason is describing and try to vet that in the service committee?
I think that would be a good idea. Okay, yes,
She has an immediate need. Who is in charge of the DART here?
for immediate need.
Yeah, I can speak to her
Okay, so why don't you
on
just,
their meeting. I can just get your
why don't,
number.
let me finish. Why don't you get with her and make her concern, make it happen? So we won't make it so bureaucratic going through the service committee and all that. You get one-on-one with her and take care of the issue, whatever that may be.
Yeah, sure.
And I think those would be complementary things to deal with an individual need and to have a system that works better for people.
And one thing I have to share is, one of the gentlemen I was writing, when I was at voc rehab, I got my certification from voc rehab. Now I have to prepare to meet with my, one of the doctors, orthopedics that I need for my particular situation. The gentleman was left, he said he made a reservation. Okay, he was in the wheelchair and my reservation went through for whatever reason. There's a problem with the scheduling equipment. You may need a new programmer to take a look at it, to adjust it, because he was not given the same schedule in terms of accessing DART. When he and I catch DART at the same time usually when we exit. Now, and obviously going out to West Columbia is very tiring and it's a long trip. This gentleman lives in Arlington area. I live in the west side, not too far from the Flying J. So in consideration for him and others, particularly people who have to go out to West Columbia for various things, for various whatever they have to take care of, okay? Please take this in consideration because I'm sure you would like to have your loved ones or yourself for that matter taken care of if you have to use the service. Okay.
And when you signed in, did you leave your contact information or can?
I can add it.
Okay,
I can add it.
okay, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so that was called it a public, oh, I'm sorry, sir, do you want to speak as well?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know if y'all were just together.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's the first time I've been to a board meeting, for the virus. I recognize some, a lot I do not. Greetings. Wanted to hop on with Dawn. One of the main problems that you have right now is understanding of pricing. One of the challenges, I think some people have to pay if they have a blue card. You've been riding like with the reflex bus, no charge. Somebody informed them that you have to pay $2 or $4 for that. Which is part of the common reflex is also $0 that you have to pay. If that has been changed, you need to be made aware of that. And when that was changed, so the public can be made. If it has not been changed, then the ones who's in charge need to be brought up to date with the reality of the policy. And so that the confidence of the pricing is when it comes to reflex, when it comes to dark, and a whole lot of other realities that I see that needs to be addressed. Also, too, one of the major realities that I'm seeing here dealing with the comic and safety. We still have an issue that needs to be addressed in the city of Columbia, in Richland County, when it comes to trees. Because people step out, the drivers cannot see the passengers a lot of times because of trees. The city of Columbia has indicated to me they have no problem, if reported, cutting down the trees. Same thing with the county. So I'm trying to understand why lack of communication with something that's simplistic is not done with the city and the county to make sure people be seen when the drivers come out on that level. So that is one of the realities that I really think needs to be addressed. And also taken care of, because as it get darker, the harder it would be, especially at night, for people to see on them. In the spring and summer, because of the leaves and stuff, that also blinds the bus stops as well. There's dealing with possible solution is to have a reflex on the bus stop. Because at night, again, some drivers cannot see on them because they drive by, it don't reflect bright enough that they can see actually people standing by the bus stop. Now, if somebody happened to be standing there at night and they weren't all black, it's gonna be more difficult to see. So coming up with solutions by way of colorization and using the aspect of light that reflect back to bring forth vision, I think it would be win-win for everybody involved. Again, there's a lot of things again, and I have to compliment the board and the comment for allowing more bus stops where people can sit down. Thank y'all for that.
All right.
That's what I was about to ask
Thank
you.
you.
You
Thank
don't
you.
know they have shelters there, most of them.
Most of them do, but a lot of them do not.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just saying that has been a big plus for us.
Yes.
The shelters are wonderful. I don't know whose idea it was,
Yeah.
but I love it
Yeah. It's
because you're out of the weather and everything.
exactly.
Okay.
A lot of people come to you complaining, but very few come in and compliment you with the job well done.
Councilman Brennan?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. A quick question for you, sir, and thank you for your time today. So number two, we're talking about overgrowth and vegetation in right-of-ways around transit stops. Is that what you're referring to?
That is correct.
Can you leave some examples of locations that you've seen so that we can work with city public works and county public works to
Beyond,
really get that pretty quickly done?
even the contact person you need, if you can't find
Good deal. We'll get a staff contact. for you.
them. All that like that.
Thank you so much, sir.
Hey, thank y'all, and again, keep up the good work on doing, and whatever you do, please do not take the time to focus on issues without focus on the solution to the problem. It's an old saying, hey, you can argue all you want United, leave issues on the table, focus on the solution, not the problem. You mess around, guess what? You won't have a problem. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Does that conclude our call to the public? Okay, great. That'll bring us to number 5, our consent calendar. Items 5A and B can be found on pages 3 through 19 of our packet. Is there a motion regarding the consent calendar?
Second.
Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion regarding consent calendar items? Hearing and seeing none, we'll call for the vote for for item 5.
Okay, Mr. Brennan,
Yes.
Mr. Burgess,
Yes.
Ms. Leeton,
Yes.
Ms. Herbert,
Yes.
Representative Howard,
Yes.
Mr. Lawson,
Yes.
yes. Dr. Morris,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Rayfield,
Yes.
Councilman Walker.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. That brings us to item 6, our discussion and action items. One person that's not muted. I think Mr. Chair Walker. So 6A is our on-time performance update.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just really quickly, we did have 3 cases of reference to COVID-19. So we're starting to see, compared to what I have previously been reporting, a little bit of spike there. And we know coming forward, we'll probably have some more. So we're just reminding the staff in reference to the COVID-19 safety protocols. So we can kind of weather through that issue. I also like to say congratulations to Daniel Dunlap. Daniel is a bus stop technician. He's employee of the month. He's been here 3.5 years. So I'd like to say congratulations to him. He does an excellent job out on the bus stops, and he actually does a little bit of cleaning up and trimming around those stops as well. So things that need immediate attention, we work through those. As far as our on-time performance, slightly down versus the previous month. We had several detours that we had to create and an influx of heavy traffic for the month of August. However, we did beat last year, which was great, but we did see a heavy increase this month or last month was kind of heavy. And that completes my report. I'm open for any questions.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay. I just, with COVID-19 being, or with COVID being kind of on the rise again, do we have plans both internally with staff and also in the general public to just make sure everybody knows that there's a new booster out? I think people are scheduling it with their flu shots. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I was actually discussing with Mr. Mack, and I'll discuss with Ms. Tam. We'll probably do need some internal messaging on that, just to kind of get us prepped for the coming months.
Got it.
Data shows that in December, November, beginning into December, we'll probably hit our peak. So we just wanted to get ahead of that just by messaging the vaccine and things, washing hands and stuff like that. Yes, you will.
And Mr. Burgess?
Is the company doing the COVID?
They're not doing it as of yet, but they anticipate doing it sometime in the future. So I'll stay on top of that.
Further questions?
I will say about the COVID, the new vaccine is now in most of the pharmacies and places so that so people can be aware of that if they are not already, because people have been kind of waiting for the new vaccine, but it's there and you can get it without cost.
Great, thank you.
The doctor's offices have it too now, Miss.
They do.
I always get my doctor. Okay, thank you.
Okay, remind me to get mine. That'll bring us to item 6B, our Lucius and River update. Is Mr. Harris on?
He is.
Yes, I am here. Thank you to the members of the board and also to the members of the public for being in attendance. So with Lucius and River construction, at this point, we're pretty much at that.
Join the meeting.
We're at that final place of completion of the project as far as the construction. goes. We just passed the service redesign. We did implement Route 47 and all the other service changes. And so now we can pick back up the pieces to make sure that we have everything straightened out for service for phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 of the project. At this time, we are just in the process of QA/QCing the site. Right, we just want to make sure we don't run into the same issues that we ran into with the previous, I guess back in May when we were told that the project was actually completed. So we started seeing cracks in the concrete. So we're trying to manage that process as much as we can. We're in the process of also developing a timeline from start to finish, how we got to this point. That way we can properly relay that information to the city. So, and that was a request from Councilman Brennan. So we will have that to you by the Friday, this Friday of this week. So that it concludes my report. I'm open to answer any questions that you may have regarding the Lucius River Superstop.
Thank you. And I see Mr. Green's hands up. Mr. Green, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Did we solve the problem of the restrooms at that stop? Did we put any restrooms there, or what's the plan for that?
So what will have to happen, we have to develop an RFP in order to be solicited for the work at the stop because it was not a part of the original scope of the project. The initial response to this project was that it would be treated just as any other super stop, similar to what we would see at Columbia Place Mall. In this case, because we did receive recommendation from the board, we are seeking vendors and we have reached out to some, but it does have to go through a formal RFP process before we can actually start the construction thereof.
Okay, so are we putting any porta potties there while we're in the process of doing that, or is there any plans for that?
If I recall correctly, there was conversation around porta potties. The initial response that I believe I received, I'm not sure if I received that at a service committee or I received it in another meeting, was that it was not the preferred option, but that option is still necessary. It's on the table, but it wasn't a preferred option. So we're trying to figure out that, what would not be as much of an eyesore for the community.
Right. I mean, I'm just talking about the short term for the porta potties. I'm not talking about for the long term. Because you talked about it getting ready to open. And we basically are bringing all those people there and we have no restroom facilities there at all, right?
Understood. Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
But I want to remind Mr. Green that we don't start service there until January. So we do have a little window yet.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Mood.
And I see Dr. Morris and then I see Mr. Brennan.
Yes, matter of fact, Ms. Mood just answered part of my question, but the other piece is, I passed through there last week and I saw a lot of grass there that need cutting. Who is responsible for maintaining that property?
So I would yield, I can kind of answer that question, but I yield the floor to either Leroy or Jackie.
So it's been cut.
Yes, it's our responsibility. It's been cut because we were checking into it last week to make sure it was cut. So Dr. Morris, it's been cut and it's our responsibility.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Brennan.
Eric, thanks for the update. Can we put that in an email for us to share with interested parties from our various delegations about the timeline going active in January and send that around to the board members, please?
Absolutely.
Great, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any further questions? I see Mr. Green, your hand is still up. Did we get everything answered for you?
Oh, you did, and I'm trying to take it down. Sorry, there you go.
Thank you. Anything further? Hearing and seeing none, that'll bring us to item 7. I'll just put it this way. Are there any motions not already planned under a committee chair motion? Yes.
I have one motion. The board I know is aware that in the IGA, the intergovernmental agreement, that they constituted the board itself, that we have 3 slots that are appointed by the legislative delegation that are specified to the legislative delegation. And that's because we get state money. I think it's from the gasoline tax. The last time I looked, it was 1/4 of 1 penny of the gas tax comes to public transportation across the state. And so that was the reason why the legislature had a voice on this board. Because the population of our service area, about 1/3 is in Lexington County and 2/3 in Richland County. It just seems fair to me that one of those 3 slots should be a Lexington County delegation appointee and 2 should be Richland County. And so, but what's not clear is how does that happen? And so my motion is that the board ask for legal advice on what steps would need to be taken to allocate 1 appointment from the legislative delegation to be Lexington's delegation and 2 from Richland.
So for that motion, I guess it's not really something that would go to a committee. It's something that would just go to legal.
That's what I'm asking for,
Right.
is legal guidance.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
that,
Mr. Artis.
Discussion has to be held between city council, county council, and our legislative, Richmond County legislative.
Right.
We can't make any decision.
No, that's
Oh.
really what I'm asking,
Right.
is that,
So
how does that have to happen?
I guess, do we have counsel on the line right now?
We have Rick Morgan, but Pam is not on the line. I can call her.
Okay. For that motion, I'm not entirely sure what to do with it.
I'm not asking for the board to make a decision.
Right.
Simply ask for legal guidance.
Right.
So that's,
Right. Okay, yeah, if we could get, so Rick came on camera. Mr. Morgan, do you have advice for us?
I think we just need to send and look at it and make sure. I think Mr. Fergus is correct. We would need to look at all of the documents and then make a recommendation back to the board as to what to do on that issue.
Okay. So we will let that motion be explored by council.
so what you're saying is that they can proceed with that without a formal motion from the board?
Well, I think because it's been voiced by the board as an area of interest, we can allow council to research what needs to be done and then bring that back to us as a report, perhaps on the next board meeting.
Madam Chair, I have
Yes.
one question to finance. Is Lexington County paid up? So that's the first place to start, is paying for service. And Lexington doesn't pay, neither do they vote for a penny for transportation. Now that burden is on Richland County taxpayers. The bulk of the money that's coming in to pay. So we are lax as a board, not getting Richland County, Lexington County to even pay, but that's an issue still with the politicians.
Okay, could that also be part
Yeah,
of?
Madam Chairwoman, that seems like something we could layer in to this legal consultant is where are the funding mechanisms, the pools? Where do they come from? And then how, and a parallel path, where's the service areas?
So perhaps we could ask staff to maybe coordinate a response with legal on that item, so that we have a full picture at our next board meeting. Mr. Morgan, does that seem in line?
I think that's the prudent, proper, and legal approach, is make sure you have all of the information before you move forward on any decision.
Yes.
I'd also like you guys to look at and highlight Lexington County have no diversity on any boards and commissions, and to consider that as well in our discussion. But that's always a concern in the delegation office, like when our delegation members, that Lexington County just don't do diversity. They have no African Americans on boards, commissions, anything on there.
Thank you. So does that conclude the motion?
Well, that got a lot broader than the question that I
Yes.
brought up, and I think we are looking at several separate issues here, but
Right.
it doesn't take away from my initial
Right.
request.
We want to make sure we're in good order,
Yes.
if we have a path forward on this.
Madam Chair, one other question. Now, if we follow our intergovernmental agreement, it states in black and white, if Lexington doesn't pay, the service stops. We never stop the service. So I think even this discussion is above the board's pay grade. It has to be the legislature, politicians to resolve.
Well, I believe we'll have council come back to us with a path, and some instructions, and then we'll also have some background information from our staff, and then we can proceed from there.
But who has the authority to stop the service? Maybe they can answer that as well.
I think Pam Baker's on the line.
Okay, Ms. Baker? Hi.
Yes.
See you. Could you give us a little advice on this matter? Do you need to be updated on what the motion is?
Yes, I just joined. I apologize. I chair a board and that had a meeting starting at 9 and I just left that. So I apologize for being late today, but yes, if you bring me up to speed and I'll try my best to answer.
It sounds like we just need an orientation for the intergovernment agreement for the board members to have a grasp on what it states, and then, then bring the questions forward to legal.
Yeah, and Franny Heiser has really, she's been the one that's done that is most knowledgeable about that. She is in Croatia at the moment. But I know that we've gotten several, I think we've gotten an AG's opinion on the agreement in the past. And so if there's a specific question, I'll make sure that Franny will be here or provide a memo or whatever response is needed for the board's question.
Thank you. And so the motion, Ms. Mood, will you repeat the motion?
Yes, my motion was that the board seek legal guidance on how to modify or implement the intergovernmental agreement in a way that allows one of the legislative delegation slots to be appointed by Lexington legislative delegation, and two by Richland, since the reason for the legislative delegation's presence on this board, appointees on this board, is because we received some state funding from the gasoline tax, and 1/3 of the population of the service area is Lexington and 2/3 is Richland. So I was asking that the board get legal advice on how that could be modified, those appointments could be modified.
And yeah, that's something that we can certainly research. I think Franny may already have some information on that. I will say that I believe it's my understanding that the only way that agreement can be amended is by the General Assembly, but don't hold me to that, but I think that's my understanding, but we can certainly research that. I don't know that it's necessary for a motion. I mean, we're general counsel to the board, and those are the types of things that we are, we do under our service, contract with the board. So.
And since we're not voting on this today, we don't need a second on this. This is just a motion.
My understanding is that we've changed it from a motion to a request of
Right.
legal funds, so that's acceptable to me.
Okay, thank you. I see Dr. Morris. Dr. Morris, you're muted.
I was going to speak on the motion. I was going to say the same thing basically was said. I don't think a motion is needed. In the past, our attorneys have interpret contracts and laws for us. And that's all we need to do is ask them to do this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Burgess.
I would love to have on our agenda, getting to the public, that we are trying to give Lexington another seat on the board, give them free service, and Richmond County paid the penny. We've never passed a penny in Richmond County, and that's what we survived on.
Well, we'll get information from staff around what the actual financials look like. So,
Who had authority to stop the service?
Leroy.
I would make that request to the board, for the board to vote on that. I would not make that decision myself, because I think as a service we offer, we can stop that service, but also affect some of the service in Richland County. Yeah, it's something that we can look up, but it's a lot that has to happen there. But what I would do is I would bring it to the board and let the board make the decision.
Will also affect our dark clients.
Okay.
Yeah. But see, that's why I was saying, even this discussion is above the board pay grade. We shouldn't even be having this discussion. The politicians discuss this intergovernmental agreement. We just abide by it.
well, I think
The same
for
rate.
me, it's important to be transparent across the board that just elected officials aren't just going behind other board members to look into doing something. So to me, it's appropriate that the board know that we're even just making this request. And then if political discussions need to happen, then political discussions can happen.
But Madam Chairman, I think it's important for political discussions to have data. Now, if there's workforce development, workforce job opportunities that are not happening because of the moves we make here, then that's a very important conversation to have. So gathering the data from our staff, from legal, is very important.
Yeah, I think we're on that path. So thank you. Yes.
And I would just say, I do think we're on the right path, because when you to answer a question like Representative Howard has raised, I mean, we'd have to go back to the law that establishes the RTA and the service area for the RTA. We can't modify the service area if we're set up as an RTA for Lexington and Richland County. So we're on the right track, that we're going to hear from the law, have to hear from the legal.
Right. We have governing documents, so we'll go back to the documents. Okay. Thank you so much. That'll bring us to number 8, progress reports. So the chair report and executive committee update. I don't know if I've said this out loud to the full board, but I will say that we did have some modifications to a COMET sign pretty recently. We made a quick call, and within an hour or so, the sign was cleaned off. And I will say thank you to staff for getting that done. So that's all from me. And then that'll bring us to our committee chairs update. Service committee, Ms. Mood.
Yeah, I would just tell you quickly that, of course, 2 of the things that we monitor on a regular basis are ridership and on-time performance. Those are 2 key measures for us. And so I just want to make the board aware of that. And from last year to this year, when we compare August to August and for last year to this year, we're increasing in ridership. When we look from July to August, for those 2 years, we've lost some between July and August from the last July to August, but overall, we're still in a growth pattern on ridership. And then on the on-time performance, we are well over 75% overall. And on there some days when we really get close to that goal, our goal is 85% for the on-time performance. So we're we vacillate a little bit, but we're closer to that goal than we've ever been. And so we just keep working with Mr. Cooks and his staff to keep that going.
I will ask, one of the questions that I was curious about is with the July, August, September numbers, I'm curious about what level of sort of students coming back and kind of learning to ride the bus do you think kind of affects, the patterns and performance?
Well, clearly, the university riders and that portion of our system now, those numbers, we do look at that because clearly those numbers change as students are present and not present. But when they are present, we have those numbers go up.
All right. Do you want to add something?
No.
Okay, great.
Couldn't have said it any better.
All right, thank you. So that'll bring us to our finance committee updates. Dr. Morris.
Yes, we had our financial committee meeting last week. And one item that I need to share with you, if you look on page 71, Chernoff Newman representative met with us. And our concern was their invoice is too generic. We want them to be more specific. And they indicated that a lot of stuff that they do is private, and we respect that. However, we decided to have them come periodically to our meetings, and if we have questions, we can ask questions at our meeting. That's all from the Finance Committee.
Thank you. Dr. Morris, I would assume that maybe some of that would need to be taken up in executive session. If we had them come in and we were asking questions about things.
Yes, we do go into executive session when we have questions about items like this.
Thank you. Does that conclude your report?
Yes, it is. It does.
Thank you so much. Okay, that'll bring us to Councilman Brennan, Intermodal Committee.
I do not have an update in this reports period. I will save mine until executive session, item C.
Okay, thank you. Then that'll bring us to Chair Walker, the ad hoc committee for ED search.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and also good afternoon to everyone. If you hear some background noise, that's because I am on the road. In fact, I'm on the interstate passing an 18-wheeler in the fast lane. But the committee's work is done, and we are prepared to make a recommendation. I believe that this item is on the agenda as an executive session item as well. And if I may, Madam Chair, I just want to give a shout out to the.
Oh, you're on mute again.
You're gonna drop
colleagues. We had Smooth, Vice Chair Burton.
We lost that. You have to repeat that, Councilman Walker.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, yeah, but I can't say enough about just the work of the committee, Ms. Mood and Vice Chair Fergus, and all their infinite wisdom and knowledge, just guiding us through the process, as this is not their first rodeo. That of course the probing questions coming from Mr. Smith as well as Councilwoman Herbert. And then also I want to give a shout out to non-committee members as well that were in attendance and also engaged in the process. Dr. Morris, we consider him an honorary member of the committee. He was at every last one of our meetings. And then we also had Councilman Mike Green, Mr. Lawson also attended, as well as Lee. And so I feel pretty good about the recommendation coming out of the committee, and we can certainly discuss it a little more in detail in executive session.
Thank you so much. And I want to publicly thank you as the chair and the full committee for all your work. It feels like it went fast. I know it, and on the calendar, it didn't go super fast, but really, I think you all did an amazing job and got us.
Madam Chair, they say when you get this food and Mr. Ferguson in the room, nothing ever goes fast.
Did you put him on mute? What did he say?
All right, that'll bring us to our executive staff updates. Thank you. Mr. Walker, did that conclude your report?
Yes, that concludes my report, and I will also be there in person momentarily. I'm just getting back into town, so.
Okay, thank you. So that'll bring us to our executive staff updates. Our interim executive director, Mr. DeChance.
Thank you, and to the board and all the other attendees and staff. You can find my report on page 83 and 84, and just one or two things I'll emphasize there. Right now, we're preparing for open enrollment with staff. So we've distributed that information to staff, and whatever changes that they elect to make to their benefits will be effective January 1. So as that information comes in October, I will make sure that those things are processed, approved, and before January 1, myself along with Rosalind Andrews will review it again. So all changes will be effective January 1, 2024. Another thing I want to just remind everyone on the low-no admissions project with the electric buses, we're still on schedule. Yes, there's definitely a lot to be done, but with all the vendors that are in that project, we're continuing to work there, and we're still on schedule. The 4 buses are in production in Anderson, Alabama. And right now we're looking at some of staff being able to go to the plant and look at that process. And I know sometimes people may ask why, but that's very important for staff and also for our mechanics. They will be involved in that visit also to get, you know, that hands-on, that visual, and also that's where, you know, gaining the knowledge that they will need to service and everything for these buses. You know, it started already, but we think that visit is very important. So that's scheduled sometime in October. And we just appreciate everybody. This has been a long process. And like I said, we're not finished yet. Seems like as the closer you get, the more complex it gets with our vendors and building out the infrastructure that we need for the buses, but everything is still on schedule. And also too, as I always do, I just want to continue to thank staff for their commitment and dedication and working together. Because I think, like I always say, when we come here, I think each day, our focus is to try to get everything right, which we know we probably won't. But we appreciate you and people like David and Joyce from the public bringing up issues that we have out there, because that's the only way we can get better. But I think the thing that I appreciate with staff is their response time. Sometimes we can't control the things that happen, but we can control the response that we have. So just again, I appreciate staff and the teamwork that they show day in and day out for getting everything done. And that concludes my report.
I'd like to just commend Leroy and the staff on something that came up recently. This is a service related thing and their response to it. You know, we have that agreement with Lyft for people to give riders rides home from work past the time that the buses stop, with a supplement from us to keep us from running big buses at night when we only had a few people. And the way people do that is that when they get on the bus to go to work, they get a code that then they use at night for the Lyft ride. And recently, somebody took the code off the bus and posted it on social media. Yeah. And so which just opened us wide up for people to misuse that. But the staff response was quick to look for a way to make sure we don't abandon riders that need that, but that we close off any possibility of abusing the service. And the Midlands riders helped us by posting on their Facebook site this misuse of something that was set up to help riders. So I just want to thank the staff for their work on that.
Great. And thank the Midlands riders. All right. Anything further? All right. We'll move on to B, our Chief Financial Officer.
Hello. My report is on page 85. I actually don't have anything more to say than what's in front of you. My team is amazing. We are amazing. Like I say, it seems boring on paper, but we do a lot that we don't, highlight on, but the lights are on, the bill are paid. And the buses are on the streets.
It's been my philosophy that all of that should be pretty boring. If it gets exciting, we might be in trouble. Yeah, Mr. Burgess.
Yes, sir.
On the 31-day pass, is it a way that you can make it 31 service days rather than 31 continuous days?
No, sir. The only way that could be done is if it's done on a per ride use. So we had, everything's consecutive
When you
days.
buy a 31-day pass, you lose the weekends if you don't ride on the weekend.
But
Sure, there's
but
no way to correct that. That's computer driven.
I am very certain without revamping our whole system that can be done. But even in that, the monthly pay, well, 31-day pass is just $40. So if we do some math and they're technically not losing a whole lot.
Oh, okay. So it really works out.
Yeah, because an all day pass is $4 a day. So if you did 4 times 30.
So it's,
Yeah.
That pass is actually the biggest savings, that 31-day pass, so they still
right,
save.
so you aren't losing anything when you don't use it on.
They get a discount. with the 31-day pass.
Thank you. Anything further? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move to our Civil Rights Officer, Mr. Prince.
Okay, good afternoon. The DBE and regulatory compliance report is found on pages 86 to 92 of the board packet. And the staff report of monthly activity is found on pages 86 to 88, and I won't go through all of those in the interest of time. On pages 89 through 90, it's just a quick snapshot of all the vendors with DBE goals and the amount that we have paid to our vendors. We had paid, as of July 31st, we had paid approximately $60.2 million. And of this amount, DBE's received $15.6 million, or 25.8% of the funds that we paid to them. And I also share information about our contract RATP Dale and their utilization of DBEs. And as of, and we always go back to more of a cumulative total, so we go back to the beginning of the contract, which was July 1st, 2020, and it goes up through July 31st, 2023. And as of the that time frame, RATP Dale had paid $12.5 million to DBEs, which represents approximately 22.9% of the money they received. And we also include information in the report of just the fiscal year for the tracking purposes only, because we track DBE goals based on the cumulative number. And currently, we are on track.
Great, good news. Any questions? Okay. Thank you. That'll bring us to D, our Public Information Officer, Ms. Reed.
Good afternoon, members of the board, staff, and guests. My report is found on pages 93 and 94, and I've highlighted some things on there, but I want to call out 3 things. I'll be sending you within the next week, the next COMET chat and how to ride USC. Well, no, yeah, the next COMET chat and our spotlight about travel to the airport, Amtrak, and Greyhound, which we did with WLTX. Also, to kind of piggyback on Ms. Mood, one of the things that the staff did was we met with Lyft to discuss COMET at night and to come up with solutions on how to mitigate the exploitation of that code. And what we came up with is that we're going to restructure it to be more of a subscription, or what am I trying to say? Not subscription. Yeah, kind of like a subscription where, you fill out a form, kind of like how we do with DART. You fill out a form and then we approve you. And then what Lyft does is send each person a unique voucher. Therefore, if you send your voucher to somebody else, you have no rides. So that will be a way to cut down on that and cut down on it being exploited. So we're going to be working with that, and fingers crossed, hope to have that in place by November 1st. And the last thing I have is that the marketing plan and the advertising plan that I worked with Flock and Rally has been completed, but because it's proprietary, I did not include it in the packet. I'll be sending it out to you all on cover on email. Exciting things going on. Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes my report. I'll entertain any questions.
Okay. Any questions? Great. That will bring us to executive session. We have 3 items for executive session. 9A is a legal contractual personnel item. Discussion of our executive director search and candidates. 9B is legal contractual personnel as well. Discussion of RATP dev contractual issues. And 9C is per section 30-4-70A5, discussion of matters related to the proposed location.
Motion to approve.
Oh, to go into executive session? Okay. Move to go into executive session. Is there a second?
Yes.
Second? Okay, moved and probably seconded. We'll take the vote to go to executive session.
Mr. Brennan?
Sorry, I'm being slow today.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Burgess?
Yes.
Ms. Leach?
Yes.
Ms. Herbert?
Yes.
Mr. Howard?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Yes.
Dr. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Gracio?
Yes.
Councilman Walker? He might be, but I don't see him.
All right. He might have fallen off.
Yeah.
It seemed like he was going through a rough zone. So I hope we get him back. All right, so we will move into executive session.
Okay, and how I will do this is concurrently, I'll move people in and out.
Okay.
So those of you on Zoom, kind of hold tight if you're supposed to go into one of those executive sessions. Thank you.
Okay, great. We're back. Is there a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved and properly seconded. We'll take the vote to come out of executive session.
Okay, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Fergus. Oh, he's in the next room.
Oh,
We have a quorum.
Okay.
yeah. Do we have a quorum actually?
Good.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
You do. Okay, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Fergus, Ms. Gleaton,
Yes.
Ms. Herbert, Representative Howard, Mr. Lawson,
Yes.
Ms. Mood,
Yes.
Dr. Morris. Dr. Morris? You're
on
muted.
mute.
You're muted, Dr. Morris.
Just nod your head.
Nod his head.
Nod if you're in agreement.
Nod his head. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you. Thank you. Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Tracio,
Yes.
Councilman Walker.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay. Do you want to record
Yes.
Mr. Burgess's vote?
Mr. Burgess? Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we are now out of executive session. Regarding item 9, we'll go 9A first.
Madam Chair, can I be recognized?
Yes,
Madam Chair, I have a motion with respect to 9A.
thank
I
you.
would I move to authorize board's attorney to enter into negotiations with a candidate as discussed in executive session, and specifically negotiations as to a contract around the vacant executive director position.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Ms. Minor Reed, will you take the vote?
Sure, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Burgess.
Yes.
Ms. Wheaton,
Yes.
Ms. Herbert, Representative Howard, Mr. Lawson,
Yes.
Ms. Mood,
Yes.
Dr. Morris. I see your head nod. Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Tracio,
Yes.
Councilman Walker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thanks, everyone. 9B, I believe, was for information only. No action is required. And same thing with item 9C, also information only, which will bring us to item 10, which should be adjournment.
So moved.
All right, all in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody, for your work. We did a lot of good stuff today.
But first, we're gonna leave you here by yourself. Let that happen.
Yeah.